I was surprised Nation Builder cost $1,000.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
How many years is that for? Just one?
One.
Wow.
I will say though that it in terms of like training somebody on it, getting them up to speed so they can do something, it's relatively easy, right? And
Yeah, it is.
if we went to Cibi CRM or whatever, yeah, we could do it for free, or we could essentially cut the cost down to like maybe $100 a year.
Mhm.
But that's kind of interesting. So if we save that money, could we spend that money on, I don't know, probably not. Even if you spent this money that you saved on like a consultant that would help you with Civi CRM, I bet you they wouldn't deliver the level of support the Nation Builder has.
I trust your
Nation Builder.
judgment.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, I really would like Civi CRM. I can argue both sides,
Mhm.
or I don't know how to.
Our group tends to show up right on time or a little bit late, seems like.
Right. And now I have to start watching the waiting room, and you have that thing about the recording. So I just started the live stream recording because I'm always anxious if that's going to work. I'm getting some more confidence, but I started that about 2 minutes ago, so it's not too bad.
Okay. And
But the
yeah, and
record,
as soon as Mike comes in, Tom, if you give him a prompt, that um, you're going to take him up on his offer to watch the waiting room, that'll free you up from that.
oh right, that would be good. Yeah, I find it interesting. I can almost tell my brain is starting to become alert to the. I mean, you can't multitask. You can multitask during a meeting, but not that much. It's
Mm-hmm.
fairly. It's because you gotta. There's the agenda, then there's all the people, and then there's your notes.
Mm-hmm.
Just, and I noticed, yeah, like cognitively, I think it's a big load. Okay, there's Joseph. Morning.
Morning.
So you're listed as Joseph. What's your
Oh, I'm just going to rename.
Oh, thanks.
It's Joyce.
Joyce.
We Joe and I share this, so
Right.
we just there you go.
Appreciate it.
Morning, Joyce.
Morning. I can't usually make these meetings. I've got a lot of Saturday morning stuff going on here in Milwaukee, but I can hop in for a little bit anyway.
Great. People are starting to pop in. Hi, Bill.
Hello.
Happy Saturday. It's kind of a gloomy Saturday in our neighborhood. But at least everything's blooming.
Yeah, we're on the up and up.
Hi, Patty.
Hey, Patty.
Hello, hello. Just get my camera on here. How's everybody?
Good. Spring is springing out there. The leaves are popping out of the trees. It's so good to see.
Yeah, it seems early this year. I don't know if it's just my poor memory, but
Probably is.
I think yeah, sometimes I think the earliest the leaves start showing up on the tree that I remember is around tax time, but
okay.
it can go all the way to May sometimes without any leaves.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm remembering early.
Well, the rhubarb's popping up in my garden. That seemed a
Ooh,
little early too.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours too.
I'm gonna have to go look at mine.
And I'll have to look at mine.
I love rhubarb. Reminds me of my grandma.
I've never been into rhubarb, but I have a huge rhubarb plant in my backyard.
My grandma used to give it to us with sugar, dip it in a cup of sugar.
Mhm. People do that. I make a lot of rhubarb bread and I freeze it, give
Sounds
it away. That's the nice thing about the plants too. You can divide them and a lot of people come and get a start who are into rhubarb.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. Put some out on the curb.
Yeah, it makes such good jelly too, with that little bit of sourness with sweet, like with strawberry and rhubarb jelly or
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah. Well, we can start in a couple minutes. We'll go through the housekeeping stuff, get that out of the way. I'm going to share my screen with the agenda. Oh, wrong document. There we go. Okay, so we'll get some of this housekeeping stuff out of the way. So just a reminder, the meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Anybody object to that?
Nope.
Okay. Hearing none. So this is the business steering committee portion of the meeting, but everyone is welcome. If you have agenda items, you can send them to me or tell us now and we'll put them on the agenda. Let's see, Joyce, we'll go around and introduce ourselves so that you'll know everybody. Let's see here. I'm going to stop this share for a minute. Okay, so I'm Greg Banks. I'm the co-chair of Greater Milwaukee Green Party. Let's go to you, Tom.
Tom from the Bayview area. Sorry, I don't know. I'm trying to make sure there's no echo due to me. Involved with IT and at the state level and the local level. Pass.
Bill?
Bill Bryan. I am state secretary or treasurer. I got to remember my position now. State treasurer for the Wisconsin Greens and retired steel worker. Been active in the Greens, the Democratic Socialists, and the Socialist Group Solidarity. Pass.
Addie?
So, Patty Ashby, I'm the membership committee chair, current secretary for Wisconsin Green Party, the state party membership committee chair, and I've been with the Green Party since 2016. Pass.
Joyce?
Joyce Alwanger, a member of MICA and Expo. I work especially on criminal justice reform and local issues on my near north side neighborhood in Milwaukee. I've been a Green Party member for about 10 years, I think, and probably owe my dues. You can tell me if I've paid them for this year. I was last with you all at, I guess it was last year. Did we meet must have been 2 years ago when we met in person still for our annual meeting. So I often can't make the Saturday morning meetings and thought I'd pop in for while I have a little bit of time. I'll probably leave you before it's over, but just wanted to be in touch.
Yeah,
Great.
welcome, Joyce. Glad you could make it. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again. Hi, Barbara. Are you there, Barbara?
Yep, I'm here.
We just finished introductions. We have a new person joining us, Joyce Ellinger. She's into criminal justice reform in the community, among other things. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Barbara. I currently still serve on the election committee here and in the state, also in the dispute resolution committee, and I help with some other committees as well.
Thank you. Okay, so can everyone see the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so we're on the Green Party news part, and the National is doing this planning meeting and direct action teach-in called Earth Day to May Day. So that starts on April 22nd, and go to GP.org to access that. And our annual goals, I'm just gonna read those quickly. We adopted those in January, and they'll be till January 2022. So number 1, development, activities to promote local party growth. The treasurer, outreach, information technology, and membership will lead on that goal. Number 2 goal, voter suppression access as a priority. The elections committee will lead on that annual goal. Number 3, the Milwaukee Anti-Racist Green New Deal. Outreach committee is leading on that. And goal number 4, annual goal number 4, lobby to repeal the authorization to use military force. And Tom Rodman, our IT chairperson, will lead on that. Let's see. And then the co-chair report, you can kind of see what I did this month there. There are just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Last month, we talked about the COVID-19 virus pandemic being both a health issue and a political issue. So I put some feelers out in the community to see if it's part of our anti-racist Green New Deal problem. And I haven't gotten anything back, but Cheryl McFarland, you remember Cheryl McFarland from Closed Milwaukee Secure Detention Facility? Okay, so Cheryl hooked me up with some resources. The Black Health Coalition of Wisconsin, MICA. Joyce, you said you belong to MICA?
Yes, I do. 50 years, we helped found it.
Great. African American Roundtable and Milwaukee Health Service. And the reason we're going to check those out, Joyce, is because we're just wanting to get a on the ground feeling from people in the community about how the rollout is going with the vaccine, also what's happening in communities of color around the health freedom issue. So just starting to do some research on that, and probably we'll have an education component on that at our next meeting if we can get the research done on time. Let's see. And then also I worked on getting out the vote on the northwest side. I just did 2 hours at the corner of Fond du Lac and Capitol Drive, which I have a captive audience there while the cars are trying to turn left. So people, the inspiring thing on that was normally when I do that in past elections, people have been saying, oh, gee, thanks. Yeah, I forgot there was an election, or I didn't know. Thank you for telling me. This time, the overwhelming majority of people were aware that there was an election and were either planning on voting or, really, really good to see such a change in people's awareness about elections. And I think that's because we can thank Donald Trump for that, making people feel like they needed to get off their butts and vote.
We did a lot of grassroots work.
Right. Yes, we did. So anything else you want to say about that, Joyce?
Well, it's one of the priorities for Micah. I did want to mention, speaking about health, Micah has just hired a second organizer whose agenda will be health issues for people on the north side of Milwaukee, specifically St. Joseph's Hospital, and working for a community benefits agreement there so that we are guaranteed that the needs of minority and poor people on the north side of Milwaukee are being met, and that hospital is not allowed to close, but is meeting the needs of people there. So if you touch base with Micah, you will find that you'll find someone who's resonating to that health issue.
Great. Thank you, Joyce. So also I did a poll watch at our school is called the German Immersion School of MPS, where my polling place was, but there wasn't anything happening there, but just, you said we would do that just to protect the polling places. And the last thing I wanted to share with you as far as my report goes is this Stand Up for Brianna's Law indoor event that took place right after our meeting last month, Saturday. And they handed out some really good stuff. And it was about Brianna's Law, how they're trying to get that passed. And they suggested we call our alderpersons, so I did. And Nakia Dodd's office said they're working on repealing this immunity that police officers have from civil prosecution. So that's what they're doing. And of course, they also support the Brianna's Law thing. And I guess we're up to the secretary's report, and basically that's just approval of our March minutes, unless you have anything else, right, Patty?
No, I have nothing else.
Okay. And we didn't get any additions or corrections to the minutes, so go ahead, Tom.
Dad. Yeah, so I'm thinking if it's important that those minutes are public, and so I guess I'm going to go look for it, see if they're in the right Google folder.
No, they're not. I can tell you I didn't do that yet.
Okay. I just think, for us to be responsible, right, we should
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm just sort of trying to be a watchdog on that. So
Yeah,
maybe I'll
I'm
go
glad you are.
all right, pass.
All right, so we're up to the treasurer's report. Barbara is going to be here later. She had to see a couple patients this morning, but she did give me an update. So for April, we have a balance in savings of $670.68 and checking of $566.45. And then she can probably update us on anything else that's happening with that. As far as treasurer stuff, membership committee report. Patty, I just gave you 5 minutes for that, but if you need more time, we do have a little bit extra time today.
Yeah, the only thing, so you can see the agenda for the current eligible voters and notes and also the option to barter 1 hour, $15 payment or 1 hour of bartering time, but you have to fill out the membership application and send it to Barbara Eisenberg to get credit for your bartering. The Wisconsin Green Party Spring Gathering will be Saturday, April 17th on Zoom. All members statewide have received an email with a link to register for the meeting. So be sure you look in your email for the link and register. And you can also register through the Wisconsin Green Party Facebook page. The theme of the gathering is a party for working people. And our special guest speaker is Howie Hawkins. Again, you can go to Facebook for all the details on the spring gathering. And that is, that's all I have. Does anybody else on the membership committee have anything to add?
I have a question. Are you needing any help with getting out that mailing that we were going to do?
Sorry.
You and Bill were going to do that?
I did mean to talk about that. So, yeah, the plan is to get out a mailing this month for Greater Milwaukee Green Party membership drive, and Bill had agreed to help with that. So, just Greg, if you can make sure that the current paid member list is up to date, I can print labels, and then I have to go back through my files and see if there's a letter. I can't recall if we've done this in the past, and there's an appeal letter that would go with the membership application. But if not, it would be great if somebody could create do just an appeal letter that could go out with the membership application. And it's not going to be a huge job, but Bill and I will coordinate on that, and we'll make every possible effort to meet the April 17th goal.
Thanks, Patty.
Tom Stack.
Go ahead, Tom.
So for this meeting, I sent out a mail blast via Nation Builder for everybody within 40 miles, and they break it up into two pieces. One is prospects and one is supporters, and I think it was like 240 supporters and like over 1,700 prospects. So you could certainly leverage that if in this membership drive, if you want any help on that. And then the other thing is I sent out an email about a call list for the gathering to encourage people to renew their membership. This wouldn't just be Milwaukee, but you could take that list and pare it down to just the Milwaukee area. I could help with that too. So it's these are people that actually have been members and they just are not up to date on their dues. Pass.
Patty Stack.
Go ahead, Patty.
Thanks for that, Tom, and for offering to assist. We'll have to look at the numbers. We have agreed that we will allocate $75 to the mailing. So have to see what the printing costs are and how many, letters we can send out for print and send out for $75. Pass.
And I'm gonna put myself on the stack for that too. Depending on how effective you think that is, Patty, I mean, you probably have a sense of what you get from doing those mailings when you do the state mailings. So if you think it's worthwhile, we can bring it back to the table about allocating more money to that. If you think it actually brings a good result.
Well, the only issue, the hard copy mail. Oh, I don't know why I'm getting an echo all of a sudden. The only issue is that a lot of addresses, well, not a lot, but each time we've done a mailing, there are a number of addresses that are not up to date. So there's a kind of a high undeliverable rate. So I think I wouldn't want to allocate a lot of funds to this. I mean, everybody can, put their, give us your opinion on that. But I'm a little hesitant to send out a huge mailing because we don't know that all the addresses are up to date. Pass.
Okay. So how do you do that on the state level? Like, I'm sure you run into the same problem at the state level, and people have been working on clearing up those addresses. How do you do that at the state level? Like, how do you decide who to send it to and who not to send it to?
Well, generally for hard copy mailings, we send them out to people who have paid within the last 2 years. And within that group, there's a small number that are returned, but it's not terrible. But we don't go beyond, I think, 2 years back or 18 months back.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else
And,
before we move on? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, at the state level, when we're using typically what Bill's done, or Patty too, we just get the envelope, we just take photographs of the envelopes that have bounced and then put those in Google Photos, and then one by one we go in and annotate the Google Photos to indicate that we've indicated that the postal address is wrong in Nation Builder, so we don't do it again. Pass.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, let's move on to IT social media report.
Okay, I got my timer going. Try to stick to 4 minutes or less. So I feel pretty good at the state level about all these membership queries, and forever I've had this goal of trying to get the local chapter, a tag set up, but at the state level, I think eventually we can get that done. So we have a tag that indicates who our local chapter members are, but we don't have that, and that's a to-do item. Let's see, I continue to train people on Nation Builder. Okay, now this is a local issue. Barb and I collaborated, and I got the domain registrar changed from GoDaddy to Google Domains for our MilwaukeeGreenParty.org website, and that just makes everything a lot easier for me to manage. So that bill is in my name. It would be great if we had a credit card, so I wouldn't have, like if we had a credit card that could pay that, so I don't have to bill once a year. I don't know when I was going to fit this in, but we need to get that Nation Builder bill fixed. It's overdue. It's about $1,100. I worked on a training video for Tomas, and he looked at it for its website maintenance issues. Let's see. Took a video of this Joel. I'm going to have trouble pronouncing it. Joel Isfedo. Posted that on the state website. It was literally when I was going out to vote. They had a car caravan. They're trying to get the police to divulge the body cam. I think it's like a 1-year anniversary of the police shooting. Let's see. I think that's about all I have, and I'm like 2.5 minutes, so
Okay.
pass.
Joyce, just so you know how we're doing this, I forgot to tell you, but we just say our name and then stack, and then I keep a stack of people that want to speak so that everyone gets to speak in a fair order. Did somebody want to be on the stack?
I did.
Go ahead, Patty.
So just Tom, for the minutes, you changed the domain from GoDaddy to what platform?
Basically, Google has a subunit called Google Domains.
Okay. And the other question is the Joel. Can you spell that last name?
Acevedo. It's Ace.
Go ahead.
Ace.
Okay.
Yeah.
I put that into the Zoom chat if you wanted to cut and paste the URL to the video. Pass.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that's all. Pass.
Okay. And then so Joyce, if you want to join in, just say Joyce stack, and then I'll put you on the stack.
I've done meetings before. I know the protocol. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So Barbara is going to do her elections committee stuff down below in the agenda. So we're going to skip the elections committee report and move on to outreach committee report. Is Mike here yet?
No.
Okay, so we'll come back to that. Going down to volunteer job openings. There's just a couple new things there. Blog posts for the website. Tom has offered to do a blog post for the website. So, whoever gets to do that first is fine, and more is good. Can't have too many of those. Also, Monty is moderating our group on Facebook, and he wants, we've expressed concerns in the past that there were too many COVID posts on that group. And, we're not a health organization, we're a political organization. So Monty wants to moderate that for us. He would like an idea from the group, or ideas from the group, on how many posts, let's say per week or per month, would we like on the COVID thing. I know some of us feel none, and maybe others feel like, it is a political health issue. So maybe we can come to consensus on that. Let's open up for discussion on that. Try to keep it quick because we're a little bit late on this, but we have a few minutes.
Zach, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
I think it would be fine to have a post or two a week, but I would also be fine just deferring to Monty's judgment on this. Pass.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else?
I think it's a critical issue. So I'm not sure if I'm against throttling it, but I don't do any of the Facebook stuff. So if it's really annoying, I can understand if there's a lot of back and forth, I can understand being bothered by that. I don't know how Facebook works in terms, if it's a good post is a good post, but if it's just some short, like short ridiculous thing, then that's not so good.
Barbara Stack.
Pass.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Well, I'm not sure that it's so much, it's part of the issue that people were just flooding our Facebook with these posts, which are pretty much all mainstream media articles about what, the Journal Sentinel or USA Today or the New York Times or any of these mainstream media thinks about COVID at the time. And 99.9% of these posts were made by a couple of people who are not Green Party members and don't show up here, don't really show up to Green Party stuff, and they've just come in as outsiders and taken over, which is why we had a media moderator in the first place. So it's less about the fact that there is some on the website or on our page, as it's just kind of has been taken over by two people who aren't even Greens. So I think that it's probably best to just leave it up to Monty's judgment here. Pass.
Yeah, I'll tell him that. And we can give him a ballpark of 1 to 2 per week, because we were getting complaints on that, and we don't want, that way he's got some guidance from the group rather than him getting feedback later that, oh, by the way, now we've decided you're putting on too many. So, anybody else before we move on?
Just briefly. So Monty texted me at 2:30 a.m. last night that he would try to get back to me after 5:30. So I assume he's still working Saturdays, so he can't make the meetings. And then he went on to say that he's going to be very busy in the next 2 weeks. So, because I've been trying to get him to help out with IT. So I'm going to check in with him in 3 weeks. Pass.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, anybody else before we move on?
Nothing to say on this topic, but I'm here. Sorry about that.
That's all right. We can go back to the outreach committee report.
You want me to do that?
Yeah.
We continue. We had another good meeting on Thursday. We continue to work on our research projects, and that will continue through at least the next month. We talked about the governor's task force report and a little more on the county climate and economics reports from the last year of this of these two separate bodies, and there's some interesting stuff in there, but no actions to report at this time.
Thanks. Anybody have any questions for outreach? Okay. And it seems like there was something else I was going to ask you, Mike, but I don't know. Oh, I know Tom has something he wanted to say to you. That's what it was. Leave that up to Tom. And you can do that. Are
later.
You or privately?
Okay.
Chat,
pass.
whatever. Team skills. So this is the public part of the meeting. And so on our team skills, we have handled our needs assessment, our vision statement we came up with. We have listed our skills, but Mike and I felt that we needed to see them listed. So here they are. What skills we possess as an organization from last time: effective committee chairs, devoted member base, effective at taking action out in the community, door-to-door stuff, etc. Meeting facilitation is good according to people last time. Attention to what democracy means within our local. So we're a democratically operating organization. And focus on education about our ideals and how we get to our goals. So our education component. Today we'll be talking about our incentives. So basically what that is what drives you to work on things related to Green Party. And for me, it's like when I see something like Howie Hawkins bringing the Green New Deal to the United States, and then seeing that actually come out of the Democrats' mouth, you know, that means that we are making big changes. Even if we're not in a position of power, we are influencing the people that are in positions of power. And so that motivates me. That's one of the things that motivates me. Anybody else? We're talking about incentives. What incentivizes you?
Barbara Stack.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Well, we just have the best policies that we've connected things like peace and sustainability, which we've done this long before there was all these studies out that found that the military is the biggest polluter on the planet, one of the biggest. And we've really have this systemic model in mind that a lot of other politics doesn't consider at all, that it's very individualistic or one issue at a time. And so this kind of a group, and the fact that it's so based in the community and doesn't have this whole ladder climbing expectation of politicians here, is it's just the only way I can see forward politically. Pass.
Thanks, Barbara. Anybody else? What incentivizes you to work on Green Party issues?
Stack, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, US politics is dominated by two parties that are both entirely devoted to maintaining the capitalist economic system and all of the horrible byproducts of that system. Imperialist war, ravaging the planet, contributing to climate change, all the problems, racism, everything that we're aware of. And the Green Party has staked out a political position that's based on a thoroughly independent political perspectives, independent political action, and it's aggressive, it's uncompromising, and it's a vehicle for saving the planet, fighting racism. You feel it's an organization that really stands on the side of workers and labor, and it's a party that puts, in a very genuine fashion, people before profits. And that's what continues to motivate me. Pass.
Thanks, Bill.
Tom Stack.
Go ahead, Tom.
So as Barb said, it's this is both good and bad. It's a do-it-yourself party, so there's no end of learning involved in my involvement with it, and most recently being on this national committee with all the various initialisms and acronyms and all the banter that goes on that listserv is extremely challenging. But behind all that, there's a platform that's like 80 pages long, and there's other structures I still don't understand, and then in addition there's a whole bunch of, in effect, like laws that are all numbered with amendments, and there's a whole process. So there's quite a lot to that. It's not all good. I think there's some real problems with the Green Party. But oh, and I would say too that it's pulling in for me the need to understand law, because it is connected with that. So it's interesting. Pass.
Anybody else? Thanks, Tom.
I'd just like to say one other thing, that
Sure.
just this morning I saw this little video that was pulled out by some independent media people, and it's who better to be speaking but Ajamu Baraka, our 2016 vice presidential candidate, on the International Day of Action against war in Afghanistan. And he wasn't presented as a Green when he was speaking. He was part of this other group. So over and over, we see these Green faces leading each movement, before they run for office, after they run for office. It has little to do with the offices and the power dynamics, and everything to do with actually getting the work done and being in the community. So it's just, the people that I've met here are some of the most morally decent, some of the strongest people I've ever met. To meet somebody like Jill Stein, who is still being harassed by national powers. They're asking her to give back all of her matching funds, actually, after 4 years. To have those kinds of people who are so morally upright that they would stand and face arrest, that they continue this movement work before and after, and it's not just the shiny political sheen, that is incredibly important to me and very inspiring. Pass.
Thanks, Barbara. I'm sorry, we're going to have to cut it off there. We're running a little bit late. And we're going to move on to our educational component, which is food initiatives in Greater Milwaukee. It's a political discussion as well as a food discussion. And Barbara Dahlgren will lead on things like Earth Day, gardens, local foods, etc. Thanks, Barbara.
Yeah, I'll start it off, but I think Joyce wanted to say something really quick.
Oh, go ahead, Joyce. I'm sorry.
I'm a member of the Green Party because my values and ideals match up. I'm very involved in other things in fulfilling those values, but I do value the Green Party and let people know that I am a member of the Green Party. So, so that's just, I think there's some people like me who can't be active, but will pay their dues and be as supportive as we can be otherwise. Pass.
Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate it. Okay, go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah, so I could talk about this stuff all day, but I'll try and compress everything that excites me about food sustainability into just a few minutes so we have plenty of time to talk. I have been really interested in what we can do locally to be sustainable, not only for environmental reasons, but also for health reasons, that everybody has been very concerned about health issues in the last year. And yet we see larger food lines than ever before. People aren't really talking about the food deserts as maybe part of the issue, that people are not getting the correct nutrition, that people are not able to get the basic things that they need, including clean water too, that, and clean air. We have a respiratory illness going around, and yet we're not even allowed to think about how we have grade F air here in Milwaukee that often the EPA rates us terribly for our air. So these things absolutely contribute to human health, but on the to get to the food sustainability only, I started looking at a whole bunch of books about food sustainability and YouTubers on how to really grow a garden, because I'm not a master gardener myself, but I think that we all can really get into it and really work on food sustainability as a party, as Milwaukeeans, and really make this community a lot more sustainable than it is for both environmental purposes and food sustainability and health purposes as well. So some of the resources that I found were the local food revolution, how humanity will feed itself in uncertain times. I just was browsing my library and found this book by Michael Brownlee in 2016. And he's from Boulder, Colorado, and talks about the projects on the local food revolution there. And so like the second chapter is this really cool little, it's just a local food declaration of independence and the reasons that that's really important. Economically, it's important. Environmentally, it's important because then you don't have trucks trucking food all over the country or all over the world. There's so many great reasons to go local. And they focused on local rather than organic, because to get the organic label is a lot more difficult than just to be local. And a lot of times Monsanto and these companies will put non-organic farms right next to their organic neighbors just so that the seeds blow over and all kinds of other stuff. And that means that they lose their organic label and it takes a long time to get it back. So they started this 10% local food shift pledge where they talked about not only did people take this pledge, but they also got a lot of local restaurants and other sorts of businesses that deal with food to take the pledge that they're sourcing 10% of their food locally. And they actually found that after getting more and more local food, the bottleneck was really that they had more demand for that than they had food. So really scaling it up has been the issue moving forward. But also it's really good to note that according to just history.com, we had about 15 million families planting victory gardens and supplying 20 million gardens with 8 million tons of food, which accounted for about 40% of all of fresh produce consumed during World War II in 1942. So we've already done it. We've already had some really sustainable models of having food and growing it locally. So I think that it's really good to note that we can do that again, at least, even if we don't get up to 100% in a year or, have our sights set that high. Even 25% to 50% local food would be huge for the communities that don't have access to that kind of nutrition because they don't have grocery stores close by, that they don't have, that people don't have that food security. And we all kind of got a little bit scared last year when the truck stopped bringing in toilet paper. And we can just imagine how horrible it would be if they weren't able to come for a couple weeks and we were running out of food. So this is a vital thing. And it's just something that's so near and dear to my heart that I think that that we ought to really think about food as one of the main things that we're thinking about. And we can really start now because it's spring out. We can start to grow pretty much any greens outside. You can just pop some seeds in the soil and, you know, your salad greens start growing immediately. And you can start your tomatoes and your peppers and all kinds of more warm weather plants inside right now. I've also found a lot of great gardening resources that are free online. There's tons of YouTubers like M.I. Gardener, who's a Michigan gardener, and he's got growing guides on YouTube. There's all these little farms. Urban farmer Curtis Stone is another guy who's from Canada, and he figured out how to do a small sustainable farming. So there's tons of them. And really, I was doing like a cost benefit too of gardening. And the costs are always time, space, probably like a $50 buy-in if you really want a nice setup. But I think that everybody can be a little bit more sustainable and teach each other to be to work on this too, either with a kitchen garden with just sprouts. It literally takes a week to grow bean sprouts for any meals that you want. Potting in plants in pots, if you just have a small space. Or I know that the Victory Gardens here, they sell plots for like $25 or something like that, but you can also build your own plot, you know. But also it helps us think about waste too, because there's so much food waste. And since I have a compost pile, I don't have to throw that away. It doesn't go away somewhere. It just goes into my soil. And then I have better soil for the next year. I have fish tanks, and fish emulsion is actually very expensive for gardening. So if you have, you know, fish tanks, if you have food waste, if you have coffee grounds, a lot of people like to start worm bins as well to help with their food waste. And then you have a great collection. And also, I have great news to report that Milwaukee can have chickens. So if you want chickens and you have a worm bin, you have free food for your chickens. You have, you know, free compost for your plants. And that's great. And I hope that West Dallas will be so sustainable in the future that we can do that kind of stuff. So I'd like to open it up from there. And if you guys have questions or, you know, just to start that conversation about how we can really, you know, make Milwaukee a place where nobody's going hungry and there's just plentiful food for us all locally, instead of having to rely on outside big agriculture, the fuel industry, the trucking industry to get all of the food in here, and to really make Milwaukee a lot more food sustainable.
Okay, thanks, Barbara. We have about 5 minutes left, just so people know our time frame. Joyce has put some nice information into the chat. And Barbara and I were talking about this when we were setting this up as our educational component. One of the things that I like to do is we have things that will grow that are like weeds that are wild edibles, like sunchokes or Jerusalem artichokes is another name for them. And they're like kind of like a potato thing, but sweeter. So I plant those, but I'd like to plant them all over Milwaukee, like be like Johnny Appleseed with Jerusalem artichokes, and just, you know, because they could feed a lot of people, and they just grow on their own. They're so easy. Same thing with like daylilies, and other people might have some other suggestions, but you know, for me, I have to keep it very simple. I'm not somebody that wants to work much on gardening. Lazy gardener. Pass. Okay. Is that good for everybody?
A question. So Is this idea of like recruiting other people to work on your garden, does that ever work? I mean, are there groups? Because yeah, I'm lazy, but it would be if I have some land that I have on my tenants have a garden space, they don't use it, but if I could get, negotiate with them, I could get somebody else to use it. I haven't had good luck with that. But you see where I'm going? I'm saying I'm offering up some land, and then I have to connect with somebody who wants to actually do the gardening.
How much land do you have, Tom?
It's just, you could put in like several of those raised gardens, maybe like 3 of those. What are those dimension-wise? 4 by 8, and it gets a lot of direct sunshine.
Oh, nice. Anybody else? Go ahead, Patty.
Just wanted to respond to Tom. Tom, are you on Nextdoor, the app where it connects you to your neighborhood?
Oh, I was at one time, and I don't know what happened to that.
I'm sure if you posted on Nextdoor, you'd probably have a line in front of your house of people who would love to garden in your space.
Thanks. I wrote that down. I'll try that. Pass.
Anybody else?
Just what I'm doing. Last year, I put in 2 raised bed gardens, and my intention is, well, I did one of the beds last year, and then I was using the second one as a compost bed, with the idea that the second one, because I'm single, I don't eat that much, but my second one, the intention is that will be for food pantry donations. So I'll keep one going for donations, and it's an experiment to see how the composting is going, because I just pitched in all my waste, and then I also have a food compost bin. So anyway, it's an experiment to see if I can create my own soil and have a really thriving garden for myself and also for donation.
Thanks, Patty. Anybody else before we move on? We have 1 minute left.
I can respond to Tom. Last year, not only was I had my own garden plots, but also I had a couple of friends that had yards who wanted something in there. So the deal was that I went over there and planted everything, and I kind of kept watch over it like once a month, but they were in charge of watering and anything in between, and they were supposed to harvest whenever they wanted. I was on the Nextdoor app last year, and I had a plague of tomato plants that just all grew volunteer. I think I gave away 50 or more tomato plants. And some people actually came over. Some of them didn't know much about gardening, and just it was an experiment for them. And it was very inspiring for people to see things growing out of the ground that maybe they don't get to see in their day-to-day life where they are in Milwaukee. So I think it's just such an inspiring thing to do. It's very direct action. And I think it's just got a lot of health benefits, just even to be outside and have that food that you grow as well. So, just kind of bringing some positivity where we have just so much negativity about so many issues. Pass.
Thanks. Okay, if we move on, everyone. Okay. So moving on to our announcements, just a couple things highlighted there. The Conservation Congress questionnaire is open from April 12th at 7 p.m. for 72 hours. Did I get that right, Barbara?
Yeah, I can add just a little bit to that. So the questionnaire, it's in the chat. If you scroll up to the top, that first thing I posted is the link, and you can see all of the questions that are going to be on there right now. but it opens up on Monday at 7 and it goes to Wednesday, I think. And I also wanted to mention that me and a bunch of other Greens did submit our own advisory questions. So we have one for the Green New Deal on there for our county, and also Dave presented it in Dane County, and there were, I think Joe Nathan presented it in his county too. So it's technically a shotgun one, which should get more, excitement from the Conservation Congress just because it's being presented a lot of places. And the second one I presented was about how to make it more democratic by representation by population. So districts that have more than 200,000 people in a county would be able to just have their own representation on the district leadership council, which is what I wrote in that one. So thanks.
Thanks, Barbara. I have a question about that too. So if we say go into the questions and mark that question as something we're interested in, does that show the Conservation Congress that people are interested in that then? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it's just, I think they do it by SurveyMonkey. That's the technology they use, and it's literally just a straight vote. I think they added a column for like, I don't care about this issue. So you can mark that if you don't really have any idea one way or the other. A lot of people kind of feel that way about the 50 or 60 fishing questions that always show up about different lengths of fish and things like that.
Thanks. Okay. So, and then another thing that's coming up is this Madison Day of Action and mass incarceration. And that's going to be Thursday, April 15th. And then, of course, April 17th is our spring gathering. And then there's something here I wanted to share with you with TOSA Together initiatives. I just thought it was kind of a very pleasant thing to see that they're doing all these things in Wauwatosa. So creative solutions for school equity, creative solutions for policing equity, brainstorming ideas to increase equity in policing practices and policy in Wauwatosa, housing equity issues in Wauwatosa, and first learning about them on the 24th, and then on April 30th, coming up with creative solutions. So Wauwatosa is just down the street from me, so that was good to see, and I just wanted to share that. Okay. And then moving on to coalition updates. Just a couple things there that are like just happening now, like the 350 is doing the Friday protests at noon. We did that yesterday. I got rained out. The rest of them stayed there, but I got rained out. I was one of the first ones there, and it rained pretty much downtown. I got pretty wet and cold, and I left. And then this other thing, Wisconsin for Safe Technologies, they are putting up the 5G antennas in my neighborhood. They're small and they look like miniature street light poles with like a book on top of them, or two big books on top of them. But I don't think people know what they are. And so I just put that out on the next door. Like, was that you that was talking about next door, Barbara? Or, oh, Patty was talking about next door, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to alert the neighbors. So anybody have anything on Poor People's Army?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to the meeting this last month, but I'll try and keep you guys updated. Pass.
Thanks. How about get the lead out? Anybody?
I saw that there's been some posting on Facebook in the Get the Let Out group. I think that there might be a little bit of energy to start that up again this spring, but I'll try and keep you guys updated on that too.
Okay. And anything on the DSA single payer initiative?
Yeah, I can report.
Thanks, Bill.
The DSA had a Medicare for All working group that worked pretty diligently for 2 or 3 years, and then they were not able to sustain it. But they are planning to reestablish the working group. So we may see some more activity around Medicare for All coming out of the DSA in the future. Pass.
Great. Southeastern Wisconsin Normal meets this Tuesday. Anybody for End the Wars Coalition, Stand for Peace?
Yeah, I don't have anything too much to report on. Oh, well, okay, no, there is something. We met with Gwen Moore for about a half an hour. Tried to get her to commit to a 10% reduction in the defense budget. And she basically said that it's too complicated because of all the riders. She didn't say no. And then instead of staying for the entire meeting, she said she had a conflict and apologized, and then said she would reschedule. But we had I think there was about 30 people on the Zoom call. So that was, from that point of view, it was really successful. Pass.
Thanks, Tom.
Stack, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
I believe Stand for Peace suspended their weekly protest for a good period of the pandemic, but they've started them back up again, and they had a couple related to anniversaries connected to the Iraq War, which were very well attended. I didn't go to them, but my wife was at both of them, and they had maybe like 36 people or a little more. Pass.
Good news. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, Stack.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, I did go to the one on Capitol and Humboldt, and I echo that was great weather. And George Martin rallied and gave a good speech about his trip to Iraq. He was on the ground, not too, it seemed like fairly close to that whole shock and awe thing. Trying to remember anything else. Just in general, it was good. A good turnout. Pass.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, we can move on to the agenda. The first thing on our agenda is ranked choice voting for House and Senate races in 2022, and that's something that Mike was going to lead on, I believe.
Yes.
There, Mike?
I just wanted to report for people's information. There has been a bill introduced in the state legislature with co-sponsors from both corporate parties to establish a ranked choice voting system for federal offices, i.e., that is the U.S. Congress and Senate. This is a bill that would establish that would basically abolish party primaries in the fall elections for those races. Up to 5 candidates would appear on the general election ballot. If they qualified through signatures and the usual stuff, and then that would be a ranked choice ballot for folks if there were more than 5 candidates declaring for a particular race, there would then be a primary, but everyone would be in it. There wouldn't be you wouldn't be running for the Democratic nominations, say for the U.S. Senate or Congress, but you would run in the primary with every other candidate, regardless of party. This is something we should look at. Like I say, it's got bipartisan support. I have no idea where it's going, and I don't have a bill number right now, but it's being organized by a group called Democracy Found, and democracyfound.org. I'll put the link in the chat. These two corporate executives, Austin Ramirez from Husco International and Catherine Gale from her family business. Something we ought to keep an eye on. I think it is very similar to the main ranked choice voting system. And Channel 12 ran a 5-minute piece on it a couple of weeks ago on their Sunday morning show up front. I will post the link for that too. It's something that we ought to have a look at. The state coordinating council should probably have a look at it and see if there are any poison pills. Lord knows that that wouldn't be the first time that something like that has happened. But it sounds like something that we might be able to support. I'm done.
All right. So should we keep that on the agenda then as something that we want to keep on our radar?
Stack.
Go ahead, Mike.
It's certainly something we should keep an eye on, especially at the state level. And I don't know that there are any decisions or proposals to make at this time, but we should keep an eye on it.
Go ahead, Bill. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, since the election, I've had the opportunity to be on several Zoom meetings with Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker. One thing that they're working on is what's called the Green Socialist Organizing Project, but I've also just been on some Zoom calls with them. And particularly Howie is pushing the ranked choice voting and ranked choice with proportional representation. And he has been watching this very closely. And there's about 45 states where there is real motion on this. There's legislation being proposed, and it is really picking up a head of steam. And I understand that there have been meetings. I don't know if they're public forums or exactly what the forum is in Wisconsin by the authors that Mike referred to, and with legislative action supported both by some Republicans and Democrats. So I think if we find out about meetings being held or public forums or whatever, we should really be on this, because it might be a breakthrough that we're looking for. Pass.
Thanks, Bill, for that good news. Anybody else? All right. We'll move on to the next item then. The State Superintendent of Public Instruction and Alex Brower campaign recap. Barbara, do you want to do the Alex Brower recap?
Yeah, I can start with this item. So as you all know, I was really involved in Alex Brower's campaign. Probably most of you have found out by now that he did not win the race. However, he got through the primary, which is far better than the comptroller's race, which he was not able to get through the primary. And he was only down by 1,000 votes, which is far better than than he and, Green's outright socialists who have socialist on their literature have done in the past. So really, this movement is gaining in steam. I was not terribly aware of this throughout the whole election period, but DSA actually ran 3 candidates on a slate, one of them being Darren for District 4, I think, or District 6, and he only was down by 12 votes. So,
Wow.
so outright socialists is saying we're going to promote the Green New Deal, and we have socialist on our literature, are really rivaling, these mainstream figures who are supported by the Journal Sentinel and, the regular liberal networks. And actually, quite a bit of mudslinging happened towards Alex Brower. There was a hit piece by Daniel Bice in the Journal Sentinel just a few days before the election, calling him not a finance guy and really deriding his socialism as something that he wouldn't be able to manage the money of the school board if he were elected. And it was really unprofessional. So to think that they have to go to these lengths these days to really just use as many channels as possible to sling mud at our campaigns rather than run a good campaign themselves, we must be doing something right. We're making some waves. So in the post-election period, I've seen some of the maps of how voters have been voting. Pretty much those very liberal, wealthy areas north of campus and UWM by the lakefront, all those really expensive condo areas, those really went more for Alex's opponent. And the areas that tend not to vote as much, the Harambe neighborhood, the stacked apartment buildings with lots of students and young people, those were the ones who went very much for Alex Brower. So, so perhaps with a much larger campaign for voter outreach, that might be the difference in a success for the next period. And I also should report that we weren't the only ones with Green candidates. Madison did very well. For their Common Council, Patrick Heck, Brian Benford, Juliana Bennett, Nikki Conklin, and Grant Foster, and I'll post their names in the chat. They all won their races. So we have 5 Greens either elected or re-elected to Madison, and I'm still waiting to hear about the Baraboo School Board. We had one candidate, Jim O'Neill, running for a school board there, and I have not seen any news on that race. For some reason, it's just not been in the news. So I'm still waiting on that, but I'll pass.
Stack, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I was disappointed when Alex was not elected. And I was disappointed when the 3 candidates that the DSA backed on their socialist slate, 2 of them African Americans, were not elected. But then upon some reflection, I thought to myself, wait a second. What John Gerda, Milwaukee's historian, noted in the paper is true. This was the first time since 1956 when socialists put forward candidates and were real prospects, could very well have gotten elected. And the 3 candidates that were endorsed by the DSA got 40, 46, and 48%. So that is, those 3 candidates averaged 45% of the vote in Milwaukee. Now they ran on a socialist program, and we of course endorsed Alex's run one of those three. And I think probably if we had understood what was going on with these candidates, we may have, I think, also endorsed the other two because they were very good candidates. I didn't know the results entirely of Madison, but I'm really impressed that we actually won 5 of those. And what's really encouraging to me is the manner in which the DSA and the Greens worked so closely together on our separate tracks, but for the same candidates. In Madison, there were 8 candidates backed by the DSA, and 7 of them were co-endorsed and supported by the Greens. And, both parties or both groups worked very diligently. I know it was reported that the DSA knocked on 30,000 doors for the Brower campaign. Now, maybe Barbara can clarify on that, whether those were DSA, if that was the total number, but that was quite a campaign that was waged. So all of this, once I gave a little more reflection, it made me realize just how much of a victory it was this for progressive candidates. Pass.
Thank you, Bill.
Patty Stack.
Go ahead, Patty.
Question for Bill. So the DSA is not a political party, is it?
It is not.
And so what party so they were backing candidates. What parties were the candidates they were backing running for under?
These were all nonpartisan races.
Okay.
Thanks. Anybody else? We have 1 minute left or 2 minutes left on this item.
Mike Sack.
I have Mike on the stack and then Barbara.
Yeah.
Keep it brief, people, please.
I'll note that Alex is a GMGP member. We should recruit the other 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, and I concur with everything that Bill said as far as the candidates. It was disappointing, particularly there were 2 school board candidates and a county board candidate, and I forget which was the one that lost by 12. That's got to be painful. It's just outside the boundary of where you can ask for a recount.
Thanks, Mike.
Could I be on stack again, Greg?
Sure, go ahead, Patty, and then Mike. I think was it Barbara?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Barbara, and then we'll have Bill.
I just wanted to respond that Bill is absolutely right. The ground game for the Alex Brower campaign was fantastic. There was so much energy, so many people out on the weekends, especially knocking doors. Some of the doors the campaign got to 3 or 4 times throughout the whole cycle, including the before the what's it called, the primary. And like everybody got a mailer. It was very the voter outreach was really incredible. So that's something to be proud of. Pass.
Go ahead, Bill.
I just wanted to note that the red baiting attack against Alex in the newspaper is indicative of the fact that we are considered a threat, and we are. We are threatening the powers that be in this city and in Madison. I understand that as the campaign rolled along in Madison, that a lot of dark money entered into the campaign, and billboards started appearing. And Rebecca Kemble, who was on the ticket, a longtime socialist and union activist in Madison, was defeated in her run as an incumbent. So I think this just is indicative of the fact that we are making some progress here. If they attack you in the manner that they are, it's a good sign. Pass.
Thanks. Thank you, Bill. Okay, moving on to our short-term objectives for our annual goals. We really don't have anything to add there, except Tom gave us some good news about this making donations easy on Facebook and the website. So I think, Tom, what were you saying about some progress on that? I can't remember what you said.
Oh, very little to say, but Barb said that there is an employer ID associated with yeah, so maybe
Right.
Barb should comment on that. That's all.
Is that Barbara Eisenberg or?
Yeah, Eisenberg.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, that's as far as I got, but I did talk to someone with the Brewery Credit Union and they did say we have a number.
Cool.
I haven't gotten to talk to them about if they could lead us in the right direction with the setting up a pay account.
Well, thanks for your work on that, Barbara. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep that on our list of things to
Barb,
do.
it would be
Go
good
ahead,
if can you get me, you know how these things go at a
Get the
certain
number?
point, get me the number and then that'll position me. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Oh, they just closed. I can't call them today, but I will call
No,
them.
that's right.
Actually, I think I have to be in there in person to get that number. I think that's, but I will do that as soon as I can. Thanks.
And then for goal number 2, voter suppression access as a priority, the elections committee did come up with a date for Protect Vote by Mail, and that was May 8th, to educate voters about attempts at the state level to suppress voting rights in Wisconsin. So thanks to the elections committee for that. And any other questions or anything, or can we move on from that? Okay, moving on to go ahead,
Greg, just a note to the elections committee. I understand that the Brennan Center is keeping track of all of these 200 some bills in state legislatures, and their website may have all the information that we need.
Okay, thanks. Brennan Center. Tracking bills. All right, and outreach actions, the next item, that's really more of an announcement, but we used to have that Black Lives Matter list of things that's happening in Milwaukee. That one is no longer viable, but Milwaukee protests on Facebook is very viable. And also the People's Revolution Milwaukee on Facebook is listing all of the protest events and stuff like that that are going on, not just for the George Floyd trial thing, but very extensive stuff. Same thing with Milwaukee protests. So that's just basically an announcement, unless anybody has any questions about that.
You know, I wasn't looking, and now I'm looking at the agenda. Are you referring to a link? In other words, if I go to Facebook, blah, 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 I think links are really important. So
if you go to Facebook, you just type in Milwaukee protests in the search, or the People's Revolution Milwaukee.
Okay, I mean, I hope that works for people that are not in Facebook, but it would be nice to actually have the full link instead of having to go through all that. But okay, thanks, pass.
Okay. And as far as the Wisconsin Green Spring Gathering, does somebody want to speak about that?
I don't really have anything to add. I mentioned everything earlier in the membership committee report. Pass.
Anybody have any questions for Patty or Bill or Barbara, Tom, anybody that's been working on the spring gathering?
Just that we need volunteers to, I think you could simultaneously try to get people to renew their membership. And, you know, we have a list of 150 people to call. People can jump in, call or text or email them, remind them about the spring gathering, and pass.
Is there going to be any in-person stuff for that, like maybe a social thing or anything? Anybody know?
No, there's nothing in person planned.
Okay. And Tom, I think what you're suggesting is to, so
actually,
I guess what I wanted to ask you, Tom, is what do you need volunteers for? What would you ask the people to do?
if you gave me right access to the agenda, I could put it right in there. What I want them to do is to, at their preference, call, text, or email this list of people that had fairly recently been members, but they just, their dues are 13 months. They haven't paid in the last 13 months. So I ask them to renew and tell them that if they do, they can vote during the spring gathering.
Okay.
Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I just wanted to encourage everybody to attend it. We have really done well coming out of our last two gatherings. We had, I think, 40 some at the fall of 2019. Let's see now. I'm losing track. But have we done two? This is our third one, I think, that we've done on Zoom. And the two previous ones, we had really good turnout. And we ended up getting a whole lot of people to get caught up on dues. And we really generated a head of steam coming out of both of those gatherings. So I just hope everybody can make it, and we can benefit from another successful gathering. Pass.
Barb,
Thanks,
staff.
Bill. Go ahead, Barb.
Oh, I just wanted to let you all know I did get 2 more memberships. Thank you, Greg, for Jennifer and for Monty. I just have to get the forms to Patty, but they're officially renewed.
Thanks, Barb. And we can actually go back to your report if you want. Did you have anything you wanted to add to your treasurer's report?
I do not.
I did
Thank you.
update what you gave me.
Okay. Those are the most up-to-date numbers I have.
Okay. Any questions for Barb? All right, we can move on then to the unsafe homeless shelters thing. I just left that on the agenda because I was thinking we could either call the what's that place called? The Army, Salvation Army. Or we could actually go there, like I'd be willing to go there if somebody else wants to go there and just knock on the door and say, hey, what's this about? Is this true?
Great.
That kind of thing. So if anybody wants to do that, just let me know. Any other discussion about that one?
Just kind of brainstorming. I know Tomas is involved in doing these micro houses, and I've heard discussion about a solution for homeless, combination of somebody with surplus land and other people with plans for micro houses, and you create these just tiny houses, but people can lock up their stuff and leave it and come back and rest assured they have a place to sleep, personal spot. So it's just an interesting idea. Pass.
Thanks, Tom. All right. Can we move on to John Lewis Voting Rights Act versus HR 1? I'll take that as a yes. And who would like to speak about that? Mike, did you have something? Go ahead.
I guess I can talk about this. We talked about the For the People Act last month, and the if you haven't signed the petition that the National Committee is organizing, I can go try to find that link. I forgot that we put this on the agenda.
I have the link. I have the link. I'll bring it up.
Oh, good. Yeah. People should sign that. It's we talked about that particular situation last month as far as what it does to the matching funds rules for campaign financing and its effect on the Green Party. I did want to note that people, a much more supportable bill, shall we say, is the separate John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which basically just restores the Voting Rights Act as it was before the Supreme Court ruled, which is all Congress had to do to negate that horrible ruling. And they haven't done it. I'll just note because it's a personal pain of mine. When that decision came down, Jim Sensenbrenner, who was then my congressman, was head of the House Judiciary Committee when the Republicans still controlled it, and he said he would get right on this and restore the Voting Rights Act as soon right away. And of course, by the time he left Congress last year, this still hadn't passed. So anyway, people should recognize that these are two separate bills. The Voting Rights Act restoration is a simple is the right thing to pass. I would hope that the For the People bill could somehow be improved, and it could be. They just have to decide to do it, but I'm less hopeful about that.
Thanks, Mike. I'm gonna put myself on the stack for that. So the HR 1 thing doesn't scare me so much because it's like, seems like it has no possibility of passing or going anywhere with the, Republicans in the Senate. So I don't know, am I barking up the wrong tree with that? Pass. Okay, good. And then this petition, if you can see, can everyone see my screen? This is the petition that Mike was talking about. It's in the email that was sent out by Mike Feinstein. Any questions about that?
So did you send that to all of us, Greg?
I didn't. I can forward the email or just do something with this link. I can copy this link and put that out.
That would be great.
Okay, I can do that.
Thanks.
All right. Anybody else on this item before we move on?
So just to clarify, it's still being discussed, but it hasn't been passed in the House?
Which bill are you talking about, Barb?
Both bills have been passed in the House and are sitting in the Senate.
So the John Lewis bill has been passed also?
Yes, in the House.
So that's the one that's
better. Just about voting rights.
Okay. Huh.
Thanks, Mike. I didn't know that either. That's helpful. I didn't know the John Lewis one had been passed by the House.
Go
ahead.
Well, yeah, I think Sarbanes from Sarbanes-Oxley is one of the people that there's one key personality that just will not budge on HR1, on the contents of HR1. That is the poison pill part. And yeah, and he didn't, and it passed. And I don't understand, but what I'm trying to get across, I said this before, there's just a lot of really good stuff in HR1, except for that part that Howie Hawkins brings up that's terrible. Pass.
Okay, items for next month's agenda, unless anybody has anything more on John Lewis HR1 thing. Okay, items for next month's agenda. All right, we will handle that. And National Committee Affairs, Mike's turn this month.
Ooh. And I did not prepare. That's on me. There's been a lot of I do know that there's been a lot of stuff around the HR1 stuff. There's the usual stuff that seems to be that makes the NC such a toxic place, but we'll have a better report next month.
Anything you'd like to say, Tom?
Probably not. It's just a huge amount of work to keep up, and I take like I usually put in a 2 days worth of work. I think it's been about 5 days. There's the sex-based rights issue is interesting. And why it's interesting is the de-accreditation. It's all tangled up in the de-accreditation process for parties. And when I mentioned the law issue, I'm learning about the adversarial process in law. I'm like a complete naive person on law, but I'm learning about some of the concepts. And so, I think that when the Green Party's under stress, or anybody's under stress, there's actually some good things that come out of it. And part of that, I think, is the process of how do you de-accreditate, how do you kick somebody out, a whole state out of the Green Party. Pass.
Somebody want to be on the stack? Okay, thanks for representing us at the National Committee. Appreciate it. Tom and Mike. And also Monty, alternative, as an alternate. Accomplishments and recognition. We can add to this, now, if you think of somebody on your committee or whoever you would like to recognize, this is the appropriate time to do it. And let's see.
Patty.
I'm just going to go ahead, Patty.
Oh, I would just like to recognize and thank Greg for all of the coalition work that you do, and looking at the co-chair report and seeing everything that you've done over the last month is really quite impressive. So thanks for all that you do to be a face of the Green Party in Milwaukee.
Thank you, Patty. And let's see, I'll just read this. All committee chairs and members for their work this month, including elections, outreach, membership, and IT. Alex and the Alex Brower campaign for the campaign work, and Barbara, Tom, Bill, Brandy, and Barb for their work and or support of this campaign. Tom, Bill, Barbara, and Patty for state spring gathering prep work. Tomas for his work with the IT committee this month. Tom and Patty for lobbying Gwen Moore for End the Wars. Anybody else? Okay. Let's see. then I think we're doing pretty good. Anybody have anything they would like to share that they didn't get to share? We do have a few minutes.
Quick comment.
Right, Tom?
Pam Richard, I help her with Peace Action, and she's now starting to we spend a half an hour, we might spend like an hour a month on Green Party Nation Builder issues, since she knows Nation Builder. So I don't know if she's going to make our meetings, but you know, there's some overlap between that and the local chapter. Pass.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. She also shows up for the 350, you know, global warming thing on Fridays.
Right.
Yep. So let's see. I think we're ready for our call to action unless anybody else has something they want to deal with.
Patty,
Go ahead, Patty.
I just have a couple of things, minutes I need need clarification on.
No, you can leave it off. I don't remember.
Okay, and then Barbara, Barb, I'm sorry that you said you discovered at Brewers Credit Union that we have, is it an EIN number?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I got that right.
Mhm.
And then Mike, the John Lewis voting rights. What did you say about the petition? A petition?
There's a petition that the National Committee is circulating against the HR 1 for the People Act, or at least the bad parts of it. It includes a select suggestion for how to amend it to make it more acceptable and more inclusive.
Thanks.
And I can send you the link to that petition, Patty, if you don't have it for the minutes.
That'd be great, or you can put it in the chat.
Okay.
And that's all I have. Pass.
All right. That'll take me a minute to put in the chat then after we're done. So I think what I'll do then is I'll just put it in the chat instead of sending it out again, because it did go out to an email and everybody that's in our list. So okay. Are we ready for our call to action?
Ready.
Ready.
All right. We believe in alternative independent politics.
We believe in alternative independent politics
and active responsible government.
And
active responsible government.
We believe in empowering of all citizens.
We believe
in the empowering of all citizens
and communities to create the world we want.
And communities to create the world we want.
We offer hope and a call to action.
We offer hope and a call to action.
Green and growing.
Green and
growing.
growing.
Green and growing.
Green and growing.
Green and growing.
Green and growing.
And growing.
All right.
All right, and actually we do have the next meeting correct in there this time.
Yay.
But we'll see everyone here next Saturday.
That's right.
Yep.
Be there, be square.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, what time?
Half of you have jobs anyway.
Does it start at 10 or what?
I think I saw the agenda said it started at 10.
Right.
Go sign up at the the state party website, RSVP, so we have a sense of what's going on.
Yes, thanks, Mike.
All right.
Do it.
Good.
All right.
Good reminder.
Yep. And Tom, can you stop the recording, please?
Yeah, I was thinking I could show Mike how to do the streaming stop and all that. But yeah, I will stop the recording.
Thank you. And I'll put that in. Can I still put that in the chat, Tom?
What do you mean?
I want to put that link to the petition in the chat. I can still do that, right?
Oh, sure, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And generally I put the chat, make the chat public, if that's okay, right?
So,
Yeah.
Does anybody object? Right.
Yeah, so I was wondering if Mike could stick around and I could show him how to, I'm trying to train somebody else on how to do the streaming, etc. If you can't, that's fine.
I can for a little while. It
Okay.
looks pretty straightforward too.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, I guess normally I would just end the meeting right now, but since Mike's in the meeting, I don't know. I think what I can do is I can share my screen and then yeah, I can clobber the stream before I end the meeting. So that'll work, I think.
Don't turn the meeting off until Greg posts his link.
Right, right. Okay, so see this window? This is a delayed version of what's going on in the meeting, probably about 40-second delay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a sender and a receiver. This is the receiver, and it's pretty bulletproof. You can do just about everything wrong, and it usually works. I mean, I knock on wood, right? Not always.
So this is done at YouTube. Not,
this is YouTube, right? And I don't know. Yeah.
Not in the Zoom interface.
Right. And there's no way you're going to understand it. This took me a long time to understand. So this is just like the 101 glossing over it, like how would you possibly understand? But I had to set up a title. And then I made it public. So this literally is public. And then this took me a month to find this little swoosh, I think of it like a Nike swoosh on the shoes,
It's a share button.
It's so obvious. Well, see, now I know that, but I think like 6 months ago, I didn't know, So
yeah, it's a newer version of the share link.
Okay, so anyhow, that of course is new every time. So if say in the middle of the meeting somebody you wanted to give them the link, there it is. You can go in there, put that on your clipboard and share it. If you had enough energy, you could update the Zoom every single time you did a meeting. You could get that new link and you could put it into the Zoom meeting. But there's no way in hell I'm going to do that every time. So I lie and I give people in Zoom, I give them a link that'll get them very close to the live stream. So if they know what they're doing, it's just one more click and they can get to the live stream.
At least on my screen, there's next to where it talks where the recording is displayed.
Okay.
There's a live on custom live streaming service, and if you check.
So yeah, if you click on that, that'll go ahead and open that up in another tab.
I was just going to point out there's a copy streaming link there as well.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that in Zoom, I am literally I'm putting in a static link, which can't possibly be right. You know what I mean?
I see.
Because otherwise it's probably an additional 10 mouse clicks and a bunch of all the delays in between, and then if you make one mistake, it won't work. And all right, so when I end the stream here, it's dead. It's like a dead, you know, it's really dead and gone. If I go back to Zoom itself and I stop the stream, which I can do, like let's say we go into an executive committee, right? Or something. You can stop the sending of the stream, and this YouTube will just sit here waiting, I think, for hours. It just will wait. And then you can start it back up again. And, you know, I haven't experimented with that too much, but I literally had to get on the phone once and call somebody and to tell them that they need to, like right now, if you go to the, well, anyhow, what I'm saying is it's a, you have to, you have to actually end this stream here, or if somebody goes to it and we ended the Zoom meeting, it'll just spin. You know what I mean? You try to play it and you won't be able to see anything.
Mhm.
All right, so I think probably what I will do is I'm going to stop it in the Zoom meeting. Where's the Zoom meeting? Oh, because I'm sharing my screen. So I'll stop sharing this screen. And then I'll go back here, and you don't know what I'm doing, but if I go up to where it says live on, actually, maybe you, since you're a co-host, maybe you could stop the stream. Yeah, do you see the live thing?
Yep.
So you can hit the down arrow and then you can stop this live stream. Yeah.
No, I can stop the recording. I can view the stream. That's all I can do is
to the right of the recording pause where it says live, it doesn't allow you to hit the down arrow and stop it. Maybe
down arrow. The down arrow only gives me view stream on the streaming service and copy the link.
Maybe it's because you're a co-host and not the host. I could make you the host, but all right, I'm just gonna